is heartbreaking. So it's bad becomes good,
Right.
and good becomes
Right,
bad.
right.
If everybody's healthy, doing well in school, that makes for a really hard case, because you don't have that. You need something and this is where social workers can also come and help. Where I have oftentimes social workers write letters of support for families.
Okay.
Social workers who work in schools and who know the situation will write letters talking about what they've seen in that family. I just had a case, another pro bono case that I've had since 2008, where the social worker that's there in California wrote a case. There was some concern about whether the husband, the dad, who had a couple of arrests, but whether he presented a danger to family or society. And she's been working with his family for a long time, provide a letter that in all of her interaction, the history of her interaction, and that in her professional opinion, he did not. That will help. Sometimes we need like social studies or reports done to show hardship, or to show something that I as an attorney can't show, but social workers
Right,
are trained
right,
to
okay.
look at these particular factors. So social workers can often really make a difference in those cases.
Okay. And then related to that, there's only two questions left. And one is, how can social workers best educate themselves on immigration issues in order to be helpful to clients who are undocumented here or have problems related to citizenship?
I think read that chapter and keep it as a resource. I think, and also know what your local resources are, as far as directing people, or know one person to call to then
Yeah, that's
direct.
a key part of social work, is just knowing someone to get the answer. Right.
Being out in the community, knowing who the resources are or who to call. And as far as educating themselves, just read the news, follow the news, with a grain of salt, because everything has a bias, right?
Right.
Check multiple sources. I know it's hard. It's our lives are all busy. Getting around town can be tough, but oftentimes there are really great speakers in different places. So I know finding the time to do that is difficult. But just kind of keeping in on top of as many of the issues as you can. If you can't keep in touch on top of all the nitty gritty, understandable. But know that in general, immigrant populations, many of them. There's a group of kind of wealthier immigrants who are always going to be fine, and they're in a place because that's just where they want to be, and they can be there. But there's that's not the people that a lot of your students are going to be working with.
Right.
So just realize that this is a time of really heightened fear and insecurity, and maybe one thing people can do is just to put, if they have an office or on a door or something, that something about it being a safe space for immigrants or something, right? Something proactively, so that something visual, or maybe in multiple languages, or really depending on the population, so that people, just like with LGBTQ issues, if you see a rainbow, and then people know that
this is someone I can talk to, disclose to.
This is someone who is open to understanding.
Right.
And I think people who work with immigrants can do something similar, so that people know that that they would feel more safe and comfortable disclosing.
Great.
What's really you look at people, and I look at you, and you're Caucasian. I can kind of maybe guess your age and guess different things about. But there's no bubble on top of your head that shows your immigration status. And I've been shocked sometimes to find, and because people come to me because of what I do, but to find that some of the people who I've met who lack status, who are, very active in the community, have all kinds of different jobs, but are living with a secret, or have a spouse. And I've met people, in the military who have, high-level jobs with security clearance, who have a secret, and it's not about them, but it's about a spouse. So there's people keep it well hidden for good reason. The other thing, just people should understand, and it didn't come up as a question, but now that same-sex marriage is legal through all 50 states, people who, same-sex couples have the same privileges to apply for
Okay.
spouses,
Right.
which is fabulous. So while a lot of benefits are kind of shrinking, or abilities to do things, that's one area that
There's
has
a new-
that has expanded
Right.
the kind
Right.
of rights and abilities, and also for victims of domestic violence. Advocates worked really hard 20-30 years ago through the Violence Against Women's Act. There are really good protections written into the law. So I've had 2 calls this week from women who were either physical or emotional abuse cases. So Hawaii Immigrant Justice Center can take those cases
Okay.
generally, and so especially if people have money issues, I always refer there first,
Okay.
because that's what they get funding for, and that's
Right.
what they can do. And so there are special options to people who are victims of abuse, either severe emotional or physical abuse. The
Okay.
cases are difficult,
Right. Just
oftentimes,
Right.
But it's important for social workers to know that if they have a client with that kind of issue, that there might be a pathway for them that they didn't even know about, where the person can still get their green card and stay in the United States and keep
okay.
and stay here if that's what he or she wants to do.
Great. So last question.
Yeah.
Which is question 20. So this is a long one. It won't surprise anyone that this is from Emily. I've heard of many people that join the military in exchange for citizenship. Currently, I know of 2 Army soldiers that are citizens from Nepal, one from South Korea, that join the service for a period of time in order to receive American citizenship at the end of their term. I was curious about this process and whether there were restrictions on this based on what countries are allowed to utilize this path, or if there are certain restrictions and how people either hear about it or are recruited for this process.
Now, this is a window that was open, and now I believe, if it's not completely closed, might be closed.
Okay.
And so I'm sorry, by the time I got the question, I wasn't
Right.
able to dive
Yeah.
into the research, but this is a really hot issue, because there were people who were recruited with the promise
Right, like
of citizenship,
right.
an expedited citizenship path. I believe that those are on hold right now,
Okay.
and it's a mess.
Okay.
So if Emily wants, I can probably find more research and send to you as far as the latest.
That'd be great.
There
right.
is an attorney named Margaret Stock, Stock, who
Okay.
is a former, I think, a colonel who practices immigration law in Alaska. She's brilliant and wonderful, and this is an issue that she has done a lot of work on, and so Googling her and then military and immigration will probably take you to the latest. So I don't want to give any misinformation, except to say that this area is in a huge state of flux right now,
Okay.
and it's a mess.
Okay. And it's one of the disputed pathways right now that may.
Yeah,
that may
I
have
don't
a
think they're
different-
taking anyone new into
Okay,
that
okay.
pipeline, and I think those that are in it and haven't completed are in a crazy form of limbo
Okay.
right
okay,
now.
okay.
There was also a program called MANVY, which was for MANVY or MAVNI, maybe MAVNI, one of those two, but it was for people who were from countries where they had need for special language skills.
Right.
Also kind of
Right.
pathway
The interpreters
through
that helped
exactly.
out. Right.
And that program is on hold
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
So, sorry, these are areas that I only know a little bit about, but enough to know that that changes have happened and
Okay.
that it's still in a state of flux.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's 20 questions.
Wow.
Isn't that a game? Thank you very much for taking the time.
You're welcome. You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. And I will type up all the kind of reference links that you had so that people can
Great.
have that.
Great. And if people have, kind of additional questions or follow-up, you can always email me at Clare, CLARE, at aloha-immigration.com, or my phone number and other contact details are on that,
Okay.
are on that site.
Okay, I'll put
So,
that.
yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.